Sultana's summer programs provide all participants with an opportunity to travel back in time to the age of sail. In the summer months, Sultana provides kids with a really unique opportunity to live and work aboard an authentic tall ship. And this is a vessel that is a very authentic replica of a ship that really did sail right here in the Chesapeake Bay in 1770, enforcing the hated tea taxes for Britain right before the Revolutionary War. Throughout the voyage, students participate in a wide variety of hands-on activities focusing on sail training, colonial history, and environmental science.
Teaching sail training on the Sultana is great. There is no prerequisite to know how to sail to get on board here. We have people who show up with tons of sailing knowledge and people who show up with no sailing knowledge.
In fact, sometimes it's even more fun for us to take kind of that blank slate and teach them all these new skills.
So when they get on board, they see this big, complex machine that they, even if they have a very strong sailing background, don't know a lot about. But by the time they leave at the end of the week, they're able to set the sails, they know the names of all of the individual lines, and they're competent sailors. It's pretty cool what they'll learn in 5 days or less.
In addition to learning about life at sea, participants in Sultana's summer programs use the vessel as a giant outdoor laboratory to sample marine life, conduct tests to monitor water quality, and explore the various habitats of the Chesapeake region.
Kids love to fish, and it's a great way to start talking about food chain, how the ecology in the bay is really structured.
The very best activity, ecology-wise, is the trawl. They get to set a great big otter trawl net and see whatever it pulls up. They get to compare all of the different species and see the animals that live really close to them. And that's especially cool for the kids that haven't seen much in the way of fish.
In the age of sail, nothing happened on a timetable. You know, like if you were going 2 knots, you went 2 knots. You know what I mean? If you got there on Tuesday, you got there on Tuesday. If you got there on Friday, you got there on Friday, depending upon like how the tide and the wind kind of got you there. And I think most people have a hard time wrapping their brain around that. That, you know, for a lot of the history of even like Western civilization, like there was no timetable. It's like, no, boats got there when they got there, and it was very unpredictable. And a lot of life kind of was structured around that unpredictability.
One of the most unique things about Sultana is when this boat was owned by the British Navy, they kept meticulous handwritten logs, both the lieutenant and the master, the first mate, and we have copies of those logs. So one thing that's really different about us is we can go directly to these primary source materials and show them to the students. This is how we know where the boat was. This is how we know who worked on the ship. And it's kind of amazing almost connecting with those people that wrote those logs. It's almost like having this interesting little portal back in time.
So when the kids live on this boat, they are fully on this boat. They sleep on it overnight under the stars if the weather's nice out. And they don't have access to technology other than cameras, which really allows them to be fully in the moment and experience everything as it's happening.
There are definitely a lot of positive aspects of being without electronics for 5 days. The kids get to experience what it was like to be a sailor in the 18th century with nothing but the boat and the people around them. It really helps them focus on what we're teaching and the experience itself.
Living on a schooner, shipboard life is it can at times be the most challenging, but in that it's the most challenging, I think it can also be the most rewarding aspect of being on board a boat like the Sultana. Now, I think this is super critical for the age that we have. When you're talking about middle school students and high school students, it's forcing people to work together. It's a very important, I think, development at that age to learn how to work with your friends and how to work with people you may not even want to work with.
They get to experience the ship as a home and gain more respect for it and feel more stewardship towards it as well, because it is not just where they are sort of doing their program, it's where they're living for that week.
One of the great things about a Sultana trip actually is the evening. By the time that sun's going down, you've been outside all day, you don't want to stay up till 1 or 2 in the morning like you might on a typical sleepover. So usually the kids are pretty ready for bed at 9 or 10 o'clock because they've had a long, fun, busy day.
There's a lot of different onshore activities the students really enjoy.
Living on the Sultana, it's definitely tight quarters, so we don't spend the entire trip on the boat. We visit a port where the kids can get off and explore, you know, a famous place like St. Michael's and go to that maritime museum there, or go to Annapolis and visit the Naval Academy, or head down to Solomon's and go to the Calvert Marine Museum.
I think just exploring is probably the things that kids love best. They get to go swimming, tide pooling, play field games out on some cool beach somewhere.
And also just like the local farms we get to go to are great spots for kids to experience the river and bay in these extremely pristine settings.
When kids leave this boat on Friday, I mean, the main thing I hope is that they had a great time while being immersed in the environment. And what our hope is that these kids are leaving Sultana with a greater knowledge of history and the environment. Somewhere down the road, they'll look back on this experience and realize that the Chesapeake is a really special place, worth caring about and ultimately worth saving. A trip aboard Sultana is more than just a few days on a boat. It's a voyage of discovery that instills knowledge, builds self-esteem, promotes stewardship of the Chesapeake Bay, and creates memories that last a lifetime.